What's up everybody? And I'm here with, I don't even know what I should label this, honestly. I guess we'll call it an after stream review. So, I watched Cuties on Netflix, the highly controversial movie from a French director. It's this name. I cannot French. I am sorry. I wanted to see this movie because when people are outraged about something before it's even out, of course it's going to create buzz and people want to see it. And then when people continue to outrage, allegedly after seeing it, I'm still kind of curious. I'm like, I want to form my own opinion. And I will only, I have listened to what other people had to say about the movie before I watched it. The ones that I'm like, I know they're going to be unbiased, so they're not going to be thinking these things. I follow PRXO, and he was all like, this is exploitation, da da da, I can't believe they're, showing pedophilic da 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 stuff, and I disagreed with him. And D'Angelo Wallace also was like, this is child exploitation, da 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 da, and I'm like, I somewhat agree with him. Lacey Green also did a video on it, and she's like, yeah, child exploitation, blah 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 blah, and I also somewhat agreed with her too. But the two people that I agreed with the most, one didn't really make a video review, which is Jasmine of Pretty Brown and Nerdy. I just saw her Facebook post about it because we are friends, and I'm like, okay. I can see that, but, I mean, this was before I actually watched the movie. And then the other was Teen Dior. She has the best explanation for this movie, and I kind of want to, add my little stamp to it. But first, let me thank my lovely patrons for supporting me and this channel. If you would like to become a medical patron follower, you can hit that link in the description below, and you can continue to support me financially if you would like to. It is totally voluntary. It is not necessary because the content that I post here is never behind a paywall, but I do put extra content on my Patreon and offer other little perks and stuff on there as well. So let me tell you about Cuties. Ami, a 11-year-old girl, joins a group of dancers named the Cuties at school and rapidly grows aware of her burgeoning femininity, upsetting her mother and her values in the process. So, first of all, I do not think this is a movie for pedophiles. I don't think this supports pedophilia. I think people are spewing all of this, negative nonsense without even seeing the movie. They might have seen trailers. They might have seen doctor trailers, because I know Lacey Green was saying she saw a trailer and noticed that some scenes didn't match in the movie, and they were edited in a way that made it more exploitive, more sexualized than it really is. This movie, I feel like if I had to pick who is this movie for, I think this is for women of color, specifically black. They don't have to be Muslim, I don't think, because historically, black families are very religious. it doesn't matter if it's, some form of Christianity or being, part of the Islamic faith. We're very attached to our religion and tradition and conservatism, at least like our parents or our grandparents or great-grandparents. I think this would speak a lot to, I guess, my generation, millennials, maybe even younger generations as well, but I think more so millennials, because we realize, like, the things, how, like, reflecting back on things we consumed as children that were, like, not appropriate for our age when we consumed it. And realizing that this is very relatable. And it's not, like I said, material for people, for, sick individuals who get off on minorities, which is totally illegal, totally wrong, totally perverse, totally unacceptable. It does not promote that, and I feel like it is not the director's fault. It is totally Netflix's fault for marketing it as something that is inappropriate, and I think those people who are outraging the loudest just don't understand, and I feel like a lot of those people who are complaining are white people. And I know I'm probably gonna get some downvotes on this, perhaps, for saying that, but I don't think they understand that growing up as a black child is different than growing up as a white child. And it's something that Tenior explained it a lot better, and she even, like, referenced another YouTuber who explained this, which is, adultification. And I only know, like, I didn't know the label, the name for this, but I do know the concept of that society as a whole looks at black children in a different way than they do white children. And maybe some other, races as well, they look at them differently. I know for, like, I think there's a lot of similarities between, like, black children and, like, black people and Hispanic people or Latinx people. Like, we are, I feel like we're both in that same box of problems. Like, since Ami is 11 years old, which is preteen, that's when you're slowly becoming, you're coming into allegedly womanhood. You get your first menstrual cycle, your body starts to develop a little bit more in places, you become a little bit more curvier, you become more of a woman. So some kids that are 11 or 12 develop a lot more, like, especially black and brown people, when they start, like, when girls, black and brown girls, like, become more, their figure develops a little bit more, they are a little bit more curvier, a little more bustier, a little more, like, butt and all of this. And even though they're 11 and 12, and then they wear these, innocent pieces of clothing, like they want to just wear shorts, or they just want to wear swimsuits because it's summertime and everyone wears shorts and swimsuits because it's hot. It's summer. But these men, these disgusting men, fetishize them, they sexualize them, and they're like, ooh, well, that's sexy. They look at us as women, as grown adult women, and not 11, 12-year-olds, or even 13, 14. Any anything of that's a minor. You're a child, and I think that's wrong. But I think they say that we don't get to have a childhood. We are immediately treated as adults, which is wrong. And I hate that that's the expectation for us as black and brown people, is that we are robbed of our childhoods because we're immediately looked at as adults, especially during this age that Ami is of 11 and 12, when we are naive to the world of, sexuality and stuff, but we're developing in these ways that we don't understand. And sometimes our parents don't explain these things to us. All they say is, oh, you have your period, you are now a woman, let us celebrate, but they never go in depth with that. I'm sure it's the same for little boys. Like with everything, with the police brutality and stuff, the little boys don't get to be little boys. They are seen as threatening young men, and like a little boy can play with a toy gun and be fine, but yet like a little black boy playing with a toy gun is a threat, which is just, it's not right. But it's just messed up that we are seen older even though we are just children. The reason that I say this is because in this movie, Ami is trying to figure out where she fits in the world. She's figuring out her identity. What does it mean to be a woman? She sees her mother, who is just accepting that her father is marrying another woman, and like putting together all of these, the food, the decorations, just preparing for the celebration of her father marrying another woman, and she's beating herself literally over it, and she sees that how weak her mother is, how hurt she is, and she doesn't want any part of that, so she tries to find some other option to like cling on to, and she sees these, rap video vixens dancing and twerking and doing all these inappropriate dances for her age. And since she wants to be, part of the cool kids, she shows them these moves, and they, accept her. They respect her a little bit more. They, they don't call her homeless or pick on her as much because they're learning all of these cool dance moves that are not appropriate for her age. I did have a video called, I forgot the name of it, but I was talking about little kids, like, rapping inappropriate songs, and how I think that's wrong, and I hate that parents think it's really cute and kids do adult things, and they're just, filming it, and they're just like, oh, that's so funny, look at her doing this twerking move and doing all this other stuff, oh, that's so funny, that's so cute, but it's not right. They don't understand what they're doing, and then when they get older and they do those things, and like, they think it's right to be objectified, and it's not. We should be telling them, you need to value yourself. You need to value your body more. I'm not promoting, like, be a pure nun or something like that, but, be aware that, these things aren't right. You shouldn't be doing that for your age. In the movie, we see this journey of Ami trying to figure out what box she wants to be in. What is the right definition of womanhood? Which way does she want to go? Does she want to be weak like her mother and fold and let, her future husband marry another woman? Or does she want to get all that attention from boys, and like the wrong attention, because she's doing all of these sexual moves that are not appropriate for her age? She realizes, no, this is not what I want. I don't want to be an adult. I don't want any of this. I just want to be a child. And that's really like the whole movie. It is a coming of age story, and I feel like black and brown girls would relate to that a lot more than these outraged white people that just don't get it. I don't know, there might be, I'm sure there are, I think, some videos of like black women who say that, oh, this was so confusing, this was garbage, this was exploitive, this was pedophilic material, this wasn't executed very well. But as someone with a film degree, I thought the movie was very effective. I think the close-ups of these girls, like, dancing and twerking was just a, juxtaposition of, like, they filmed it the same way, like, the rap music video was filmed, like, focusing on individual body parts and stuff, and they're, I guess, comparing how you feel when you watch all these girls, twerking and splitting, doing splits and, doing all these sexual gestures and stuff with each other. And now you're seeing that same thing with these 11 and 12-year-olds doing the same thing and using that same camera movement that they do in music videos and being like, does that make you uncomfortable? Does this make you outraged? And it should. It's supposed to make you uncomfortable. It's supposed to say, look, these are the images that my child shouldn't be looking at. We need to give out better images to our children. We need to monitor what they view a lot more so they know that they do not have to objectify themselves to get attention, to be accepted. They don't have to do these things. And that's how I interpret all of these close-ups. I don't think... Yes, I know there were ways to do that without, showing what was going on, doing these close-ups, and this was mentioned by D'Angelo Wallace, and again, referenced, Teen Yor also referenced D'Angelo Wallace of, like, Precious, and how an incident occurred and it was off camera, yet they didn't do that for this movie. And she was like, and I agree with her with this point of, yes, they could have done that, of not showing, but then people wouldn't talk about it. And I think that's the point of this movie. And this movie, I believe, was from the director's own personal experiences. And pulling back into my experience, growing up and while I was watching this movie, and I remember I probably did do some of these things to, be cool, to not really be accepted, but to be cool, because I went to a private school. There weren't many black people there, and some of my, not really close friends, but like my friends would kind of seek out to me, like, what's cool? What's really cool? Like, what is going on in the hip-hop world? What is going on because being black is cool. Like, what we got, they can't do. So there might have been some things that I thought, like, oh, if I do this, then my friends will think I'm cool, especially, like, black friends, because I didn't really have that many. I was like, oh, if I do this move, they'll like accept me, or they'll think that like I'm definitely one of them. This is me proving my blackness if I do these things, imitating some of the stuff I've seen on music videos that I shouldn't have been watching on BET Uncut that came on after midnight. Like, I shouldn't have been exposed to that. And kids are inevitably, you can't control everything they see, but inevitably they're going to find stuff like that. And it's even more accessible now compared to when I was a kid, where like I grew up with dial-up. Like, you had to wait until midnight for BET Uncut, or even the MTV Uncut stuff. Like, all the stuff that's like explicit, you had to wait till like later at night when normally kids are asleep to like see such things. I mean, after a while, like I had to deal with a different sort of like identity. Like, where do I belong? What should I do? I don't think I tried to be that person that tried to impress. I'm sure I've had my moments of trying to impress people, but I don't think I went in the same way as Ami did. But I do understand why the extreme. Because she's young. Because she's a child, and she just doesn't know where the boundaries are. Like, when you're older, when you're, I don't know, maybe even 18, 19, in your 20s, you don't realize that doing those things, you don't have to do that. You're going to attract the wrong attention. She's a child. She doesn't know that. She's just trying to figure out what kind of woman should she be, even though she's just a little girl. And she should just be a little girl. That's what I got out of the movie. I thought Cuties was a fantastic depiction of what it's like growing up as a black girl. Whether you're Muslim or not, you can insert whatever religion your family believed in. It definitely spoke to me on a personal level, to a point, and even like thinking of all the girls around me who thought they needed to like dress sexier to get boys' attention, to fit in and be cool with everybody else, and they didn't need to do that. But that's what media and society portrays. Society need to be this image to get what you want. And when you realize that, it makes you feel uncomfortable. When you realize that that's not what you want, and then you realize who you really are. And that's what this movie is. I think they made this more controversial than it really is, and I think that's Netflix's fault. And I don't think people should be dropping their subscription over it, because I don't think it was a terrible movie. I thought it was pretty, like I said, a really good movie, and I wouldn't mind, watching it again. Probably not anytime soon, because it was uncomfortable, but it was uncomfortable for a purpose. And those types of movies that have a message to make you uncomfortable for a purpose are the movies that should be watched and should be discussed in a more objective, rational tone. Yeah, I think this is probably the most serious movie review I've ever done, and it's kind of weird. But yeah, Cuties was a really good movie. I enjoyed all of the child actors and stuff. I have looked at some of the negative reviews and stuff on IMDb, just glancing through it, and I just kind of went over my head. I did find it interesting when someone pointed out this, I think it was on one of the YouTube channels that I watched that was talking about this, was oh, why is every movie where the main character is a girl and they're Muslim, that they're always trying to rebel from religion or whatever? I mean, I'm sure there has to be some movies out there that don't like mine, claiming their religion and being okay. I think I've actually seen one or two of those movies with Muslim characters where they're perfectly fine going through the traditions, or at least, doing a balance of mixing tradition with, what is it? What's common, like outsider, non-traditional, I don't know. Like mixing tradition with non-traditional, I guess, lifestyle. I don't know how to explain it, but I'm sure I've seen some stuff that doesn't have to deal with rebelling as much. A lot of I think some of the ones that I can think of is more rebelling towards the treatment from men when it comes to religion, more than like being like, I don't want to wear my hijab, I don't want to do these things, I just want to be free, mother. But it's more of like, hey husband, stop treating me like trash and treat me like a human being. I don't know why this is the thing that we should do, blah blah blah. I don't know. I do find that interesting, but I think someone also replied that they think that the director is Muslim, and it's mostly off of her her own story. But that's my thought on Cuties. I thought it was very well done, and I think that the controversy will hopefully, switch the conversation in a different direction of, why does this really outrage you? Like, this movie should make you mad, but it shouldn't make you mad in the way that everyone says it is, or at least the loudest of voices, which I'm hearing the most is that this is a pedophilic movie, but it really isn't, and I think that just has to do with the bad marketing on Netflix's part, and I'm glad that they apologized and changed it to fit the real tone of this movie. But I thought it was a very good, true to life depiction of growing up as a black girl. Also, when I initially watched it, I watched half of it in English and realized, I'm like, wait a minute, is this a French film? And then I changed it to French. So the English dub is actually not that bad if you wanted to watch it completely in English and you don't feel like reading subtitles. It's actually pretty good. If I had to rate it, I would probably give it about a 4.5 out of 5. That sounds like a good rating for it. I definitely recommend it, but I think it would be better for those who kind of grew up in this kind of situation, who can relate to Ami a little more, to get it. I don't know. But I related to it, like, I understood what the director was trying to do, and yes, it was exploitive, but it was exploitive for a reason. There was definitely a purpose. That's all I have to say. Tell me if you've seen Cuties in the comments below. And if you haven't and you refuse to see it, please tell me why. I'm just curious. I want to make a discussion. Like, please tell me your thoughts, your questions, whatever, in the comments below about this movie, because I'm very curious. I want to talk more about it, and I hope, like, my explanation makes you rethink the movie, but I think it's not as bad as, like, what people are saying. I might check out other people's videos and thoughts about it, but for now, I'm pretty good with the I think it was 4 or 5 people that I did mention already in this video. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button if you want to see more videos. that I post on Wednesdays or Thursdays. I'll see you guys in another video. Great day. Peace.